there's no excuses now for the manager this season. He's got to start getting results and get the results quickly, because once you start getting into October, November, then I think if the results don't change drastically, then that's where the pressure comes. We signed a deal with Ford, and used to give me dad a Ford Galaxy, but I didn't realise that in the contract when I passed my driving test, my first car had to be a Ford. So yeah, there used to be these garages, and you'd use one of the garages as the door, and you just mess around with your mates, and I'm sure he'd be doing something similar or whatever at that age. But yeah, you're just trying to be a kid, because sometimes that gets taken away from you.
This is the Wayne Rooney Show. Manchester United have just drawn 1-1 away at Fulham. The fans are angry. What we want to know is, how is Wayne feeling?
Yeah, it was a disappointing result. I thought the start of the game was really positive, really taking the game to Fulham, some nice interplay. And then, from getting the goal, and then second half really passive again, too easy to get onto the back line, and obviously Fulham getting equalised, and it looked like Fulham were going to go and win the game. So thankfully they never come away with a draw, but I still think there's a lot to be worked on, and it's early on in the season, of course it is, but I think United really needed to hit the ground running this season, and 1 point from 6 now is obviously a bit of a worry.
Go on, Kay. Oh, you're like a coiled spring.
Do you know what it is?
Go on, just go. Just get it off your chest.
I think what Wayne said there was really important. We needed to hit the ground running this season, and with his record last year, he really needed to get some wins under his belt really quickly. And I think he's got a worse win record than Gary Neville at Valencia. And it's just the same errors keep cropping up, the same players making the same mistakes. And I feel like the lethargy that you see with a lot of the players is sort of starting to creep in with players like Cunha and Mbeumo as well. Like, they look sharp at the beginning of the game, and then it gets towards the end. And
I think just for me on that, I think the one thing, players are getting moved around the pitch and into different positions. You see Mason Mount playing 2 or 3 positions, Cunha and Bueno, Ahmad. Players are moving into different positions, and then from that you can't get a settled, running the team, doing the same thing and one thing. So I know from a player who's done that myself, that can be very frustrating. Then all of a sudden you become fed up of it, and that shows through body language as well. And I just hope that doesn't start to happen with these new players, because I think there's a lot of ability in there, and already early on, the worry is, we've got 3 centre backs, but it's too easy for forwards, midfield players to get onto the centre back. So if anything, you should see at the start of a new season, United saying, right, last season's gone, let's make sure we have a good start, let's stick together, and already they're starting to see them gaps. So that's a big concern for me.
What would you do, Wayne, if you were manager?
I don't know. My track record isn't great as well. So, no. Listen, I think the first thing you'd want to do is say, right, we need to be hard to beat. That's the first thing. Let's be hard to beat. Let's be hard to, concede chances against. And today, again, I think the goalkeeper off corners, every corner you worry when the ball goes in the box. But I think you just have to say, let's do the basics right. And I'm sure we'll get on to Tottenham in a bit. But Tottenham have started the season well because they've got the basics right. And I think that's the first thing as a manager. You really need to try and make sure you fix.
It's funny how things can change in a week, though, wasn't it? You two were fairly optimistic, fairly positive after last Sunday. But is that what is so frustrating, Kay? The fact that you saw some kind of green shoots of what Amorim was trying to do, and then it feels like another step backwards and back into all the problems that you had last year?
Well, yeah, because you could play well against Arsenal because it's Arsenal and they've come second 3 years in a row. And if you play well against them, it's quite encouraging. But this is no disrespect, but it's Fulham. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like we were expecting a promising result, but that just didn't manifest. And I don't know what can change right now. We're screaming out for a midfielder, and he doesn't fancy Kobbie Mainoo to come on, and he puts on 2 central defenders when we're trying to get a goal. I'm just confused as to what he's thinking.
Were you surprised as well, Wayne, that maybe they've spent all that money on Šeško and then he doesn't start? Does he need to be starting?
Yeah, you'd say so. I think that's what will end up happening. And that's what I was saying before. You know, when he comes on, Cunha's going out wide and etc. So where Cunha in both games has looked more dangerous from when he's played as that central role. So then when he goes out wide, it looks like, you know, he doesn't really want to be there, if that makes sense. But Sesko, I think, will become the starting forward. I don't know how many minutes he's played in pre-season, so maybe he's just easing him into the team.
Wayne, from a player's perspective, how important is pre-season? Because I know people talk about it, but how important is it really?
It's hugely important, I think, to get everything you want. Of course, your fitness, but, you know, the manager has the opportunity to put all his, you know, his tactical nous into it, and we're seeing that he probably needs this pre-season going into the season. He's had this pre-season. He's spent money, brought players in, so you would have just liked to have seen a bit more and seen the players understand the roles a bit better. And even like with the changes, pre-season allows you to look at, you know, if we're chasing a goal, this was how the team's going to look the last 30 minutes. And you just, I think at the minute what we're seeing is off the cuff really towards the end of the game. So yeah, I think there's no excuses now for the manager this season. He's you know, he's got to start getting results and get results quickly, because once you start getting into October, November, then I think if the results don't change drastically, then that's where the pressure comes.
You mentioned the stat before, Kay, about Gary Neville, and I know you absolutely love that stat, but this one has been doing the rounds as well. Ruben Amorim has managed Manchester United in 28 matches against current Premier League teams. He has overseen 4 wins. That's a win percentage under 14.5%, and 2 of those wins came in his first month in charge. Do you still have faith that he's the right man, Wayne, to lead Manchester United forward?
It's difficult, and obviously to sit here and say 100%. I don't think anyone could do that. I don't think Ruben Amorim would probably say that himself, with what we've seen over the, you know, since he's been at the club. But I think the recruitment has been good in the summer. I still want to see 2 or 3 more players be brought in. I'd like to see that. But yeah, it's difficult to say, right, this is going to be our manager for the next 5 years on what we've seen. And, you know, we'd love to see him turn that round. And listen, and sometimes we might be going too quick on this because Manchester United, you know, brings a lot more of attention. It's only 2 games into the season, but Kay said it before, the worrying sign is we're seeing things what we were seeing last season, and, you know, that's a concern. I would like to have hoped that they all mistakes and players walking and, you know, easy to play against at times would have been gone, but today that was a bit of a worry.
The one good positive is they all look fitter and they all look like they could run a lot more. So if we enter all the players into the London Marathon, we might have a shot at winning that.
It's April, so we've got a bit of time to get them completely ready as well. Okay, well, that was a nice light start thanks to Manchester United. Let's try and move on to one of your other former clubs. Much better day, Wayne, for Everton. I know originally you were hoping to be there. You haven't been very well this week, so you weren't able to be there at the big opening, but it looked incredible, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and obviously a lot of family and friends at the game today, and you're just hoping that the football didn't ruin it. That was what you're hoping, please get off to a good winning start. There's so many positives around the stadium, and, you know, all different new gadgets around the stadium, which I'm sure we'll start to see around the country over the next few years. But I think the most important thing was when the team go out onto that pitch and try and win the game, and listen, Everton went at the best today, but they got the win, a good win against a difficult team to play against in Brighton. So no, I think overall, after losing the first game of the season, getting the first win at the stadium was so important, because what you don't want to do is drag on, and then over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks you're still trying to get that first win. And so I think today's result was massive.
Go on, Kay. I know what Kay's desperate to not talk about football. He wants to talk about the way you get your food and drink at the stadium, because when we came on the call, that was the first thing he said. Did you see how you get a beer at the stadium? Go on.
Yeah, no, I saw the self-serving pints machine. I thought that was amazing.
All the important stuff.
Yeah, I was like, they've got the best stadium in the country now. Like that, it looked insane. Like, the way people were getting it. I thought it was a nice little touch. But I was impressed with the atmosphere. I thought, being a new stadium, a lot of people probably don't know where they're sitting. Like, friends might have been, you know, separated and that sort of stuff. But it looked like the atmosphere was amazing as well.
The fans made a conscious effort to make sure that was the case, because I think we've seen in new stadiums in the past that, as you said, the atmosphere is a bit flat, and then you're still holding on to, obviously, the previous stadium, and moving from Goodison, where it was always a good atmosphere. I think the fans really, made the conscious effort to make sure that it was a bang straight away. And from listening, obviously watching on TV, listening to Z cars and then the images of the stadium, above the stadium, right on the Mersey and stuff, and then it cuts into the stadium, the fans are all there with the singing and the atmosphere look great. So no, I think the fans played a massive part today in making it a historic day for the club. What I like is, it's not like if you look at the Emirates, which is a lovely stadium, it's just the same the whole way around, and this has got a bit more character. One end is a bit different to the other end behind the goal, and it just gives you that little bit of twerkiness, which makes it a little bit different and stand out, I suppose.
Before we move on, we spoke about him on the first pod, I think it was, Wayne. Jack Grealish, someone that you know well. You said it was a brilliant move for him going to Everton. He looked mega up for it today, and he produced, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and I think obviously getting the 2 assists on his home debut, first start, was great for him. But I really liked, I think it was the first few minutes of the game when there was an opportunity for him to get the fullback, and the fullback tackled him, and he come back and he put an aggressive tackle in, won the ball back, and you could see the reaction from the crowds. The crowds are all up on their feet, and they're big moments. They create the atmosphere at stadiums, and from there he obviously worked his way into the game, got his 2 assists, which I think is good for him, because it'll give him a lot of confidence as well. He hasn't played a lot of football of late, and to get that game in his belt and 2 assists, I think that'll only benefit him and obviously Everton moving forward.
Okay, so not a great weekend for United, really good weekend for Everton, even better weekend arguably for Spurs. What a win at Manchester City. Did you see that one coming, Wayne?
I think what I'm really liking, what I'm seeing about Tottenham and Thomas Frank is, you can clearly see he's absolutely drilled them in getting the basics right. And a bit what we were talking about Manchester United before, and if the basics aren't right, it becomes very difficult, and they do everything right, and whether that's pressing high up the pitch or defending deep, staying as compact as they can to try and make it difficult for teams to play against them. They're getting all the basics right, and they're getting rewards for that. So I've been really impressed with the start Thomas Frank has made at Tottenham, and the buy-in from the players. We talk, sometimes we say players don't buy into a new manager's shape or tactics. I think the players have all bought into what he wants, and of course that helps when you win games, but I think it's quite refreshing to see him.
I saw, I think Jed Spence was on Instagram saying, "Bring your favourite winger." Like they're all hyped up and they're confident, and they've all bought into that system. It's amazing how he's got them to play, and it didn't require 25 games or so. It's like one pre-season and he's drilled it into them.
And Richarlison, I mean, everyone was talking about potentially was he going to move away from Spurs, and in a summer where Manchester United have spent big on a striker, potentially Liverpool might spend big as well. Arsenal have as well. Well, look at Spurs; they had a gem all along, Wayne.
Yeah, no, Richarlison's a good player, and if you play to his strengths, then he's a handful. And it's similar to what I was saying before about the basics. If Tottenham get the ball out wide, there's no thought it's going in the box, and so for the forwards, the difference that makes in terms of, before the ball reaches the wide man or the fullback, you might start pulling off the centre back to get across him. So knowing the ball's going to come in the box, so it allows you that little bit more time to adjust your body position or readjust yourself to get that little edge on the defender. So it makes it so much easier for the forward if you know that ball's coming in. All you've got to do is work on your timing, and he's aggressive. He will put himself in there. So I think the change of tactically which has happened is certainly going to bring the best out of Richarlison for sure.
Wayne, which team would you have liked to have played in if you were playing right now? Given
that's a tough question.
Yeah, because you've seen how they're all playing. Which team do you reckon you would have slotted into and just caused havoc?
I do like what Arsenal are doing, and I think we've seen that over the last few years, and I think they have the solid, the hard defensively to play through, and they've been crying out obviously for number 9, and they've got that now with Gyökeres. But I think the way Arsenal are playing at the minute, it's not overplaying, but also, as we see the work on set pieces, they are getting balls in the box as well. So I think the way Arsenal played at the minute, it probably suit me more.
If we're going to talk about the Spurs side of things and give them plenty of praise, we probably should dissect City. Now, as football fans, we get carried away, don't we? We probably all thought City were back after they beat Wolves last weekend. Perhaps, Wayne, did we see that maybe we all got a bit carried away? And potentially there's still a few of the same issues at City? Yeah,
no, I think there's some of the issues there, of course there is, but I think, and what we were talking about Manchester United before, and you can overthink things. I think similar. After 2 games, it's very difficult for anyone. I think with Thomas Frank, it's different because we've seen him at Brentford. We know how his team's playing. He's just carrying that on with better players really at Tottenham. But at Manchester City, obviously Pep's changed his assistant coach. He brought some new players in. Against Wolves, I thought they were fantastic. And then obviously against Tottenham, not so good, and he lose the game. So yeah, I still think there's a lot to figure out for Pep and what's his best 11. He's lost some big characters out to that dressing room, into De Bruyne and Kyle Walker, and players who have ran that dressing room really for the last few years.
Okay, the other big story from the weekend then that we have to talk about, I think, is Max Dowman for Arsenal. There's been a lot of hype about him over pre-season. 15 years old, came off the bench, won a penalty. What a player he looks, Wayne. Everyone's waxing lyrical, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, he's, obviously not seen too much of him, but to play at that age in the Premier League is crazy. I know I played when I was young, but I think he's like 150 days younger than I was, or whatever. More, whatever. So I was sat there actually with my son watching it yesterday, and my son is older than him.
Is this your son, Kai, that's obviously playing?
Yeah,
for
so I went
Manchester
to watch
United
Kai
now?
yesterday. He played for the under-18s. Was yesterday. Yeah, and got his first goal for them, which is, again, 3 years above himself. Is a great achievement. And then we're watching the Arsenal game, and Dowman comes on, and Kai's played against him, and I said, is he your age? And he went, yeah, Kai is 2 months older than him. So I was thinking, it's absolutely crazy that he's playing first team football in the Premier League.
Wayne, how did you feel when you were 16 getting put into the first team dressing room and stuff? What's that like?
It's a massive confidence boost from the manager, just to have him on the bench and then to bring him on. And you could see it's clear the players are all, round him and making sure they're protecting him and whatever, and because he's going to have some difficult moments as well. But it's just refreshing to see a young lad get his opportunity, and and even though he's playing for Arsenal, every time you come inside him, go on, shoot, put it in the top. You want him to put it in the top corner, and whatever. And unfortunately, didn't. But then he wins a penalty, and I'll be honest, I was thinking, please don't give him the penalty.
Were you?
Yeah, I didn't want. I just, if he gets it and scores, it's great. But I was thinking, if he misses that, the difference in being an absolute success story and coming on to then he misses the penalty, and then all of a sudden you get not everyone, but online people having a go at him. So I was really pleased he didn't. But no, it was such an impressive debut for him.
It feels like though a young Wayne Rooney would have gone and taken a ball and said, I'm taking this penalty.
Yeah, you would. I'm sure he would have wanted the penalty as well. And sometimes that's where you senior players have got to look after him as well, because at that age you're always making the right decisions. But no, I was glad he didn't take it. But it's at that age, I think Guy Neville said it on the commentary that he still hasn't started his final year to do his GCSEs yet, so he doesn't have to worry about them at the minute. So it's crazy.
I'm sure that's not what his parents are saying. His parents are saying probably still get your education as well. I'm intrigued as to what Kai said about playing against him, because he's obviously got a unique perspective that we won't have.
Yeah, no, he just said you can clearly see he's a top player, and that's what, for any young player, you say, you work hard and you put the effort in. You never know. Sometimes you could be playing under 15s, and the next time you're playing 18s or Premier League. That's how quick it can happen. So you always have to be ready. And I'm sure for Max and his family and his friends, seeing him just go from here to there, I'm sure they're all living in a dream, a fairy tale where that probably hasn't hit home yet. But you can see his future is so bright. He's going to have a massive future. And everyone you speak to in football, the same name keeps coming back in Max Dowman. So I think his future is very bright.
How do you stay level-headed, Wayne, at that period? Because, obviously, you still can't even drive a car yet, but you're the talk of the town. Everyone's talking about you up and down the country, TV, radio, internet, whatever. But still, you're 15, and how do you let that not get to your head?
Yeah, it's difficult for anyone, I think. And I think the first thing you'll do is just, stay around your family and friends, close friends, and listen to them really, because there are going to be people out there who are trying to be your friend, or trying to get in touch with you for good reasons, some for not so good reasons. But you just have to make sure the people who are closest to you stay around them. and listen to their advice rather than, you know, outsiders trying to, you probably don't know you that well, trying to give you advice which mightn't be too helpful. So stay close to your parents, I'd say.
Do you reckon they're going to give him a Ford KA as well?
Yes, we got it in.
That was an interesting one from me.
Go on, Wayne, explain it.
No, so when I think I was 14, I signed a deal with Ford, and used to give me dad a Ford Galaxy. But I didn't realise that in the contract, when I passed my driving test, my first car had to be a Ford. So yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I had a nice purpley 4KA with a personalised number plate, and I always remember then, it was a few months later, I was driving the Ford and Clean was in a BMW X5.
What was that realization like? I bet you were going through like, I'm going to get a Mercedes, I'm going to get a BMW, and then your agent comes out and goes, actually, Paul.
Yeah, no, listen, it was a nice car. I actually upgraded it after a couple of months to a 4KA convertible as well. So.
I never thought this was something we'd have in common, Wayne. My first car was a Ford KA.
Was it? Yeah. So
as well.
I changed.
Mine was a Ford Fiesta, so looks like we've all got the same.
The same taste. The difference is that was all we could afford, and we had no choice.
Listen, when you're that age, you pass your driving test, you just want to drive any car. So I don't think.
Did you pass first time, Wayne?
I passed I had 3 lessons.
3 lessons? You passed the driving test?
Yeah.
What? I've never heard anyone do that.
I'm pretty sure the fella who took me test was an Everton fan.
Oh, okay. So you couldn't actually drive, but you had a driving licence.
So yeah, no, I could drive. It was okay.
On a serious note, though, I imagine this is probably taking you back to that time in your life when you see a player. I know you were a little bit older when you burst onto the scene, but has it taken you back a little bit, remembering when you came through at Everton and how your world literally probably changed overnight?
Yeah, it's surreal. It's so strange that you 1 minute you, as I said before, you're in the youth team, and then next minute you in the first team dressing room and with some of your heroes. And for me, some of your heroes going up, I'm in there training with, playing with, becoming friends with. I was round at Duncan Ferguson's house. He lived on the same road as me, just chilling with him and Alan Stubbs, and you're like, what is going on here? This is surreal. So it's something you need to get used to very quickly, because it can be overwhelming, and it can really get you if you don't get used to it. But from the looks of it, Max Dowman looks like a very level-headed lad from everything I have seen, and you hope he manages to deal with it and understands what's coming his way very soon.
Wayne, you're famously on record saying you were surprised that the step up wasn't as hard as you thought it would be. I'll put it in nicer terms than you put it. But what do you reckon Max Dowman was thinking? Do you think the step up's harder now?
He made it look effortless, didn't like?
Yeah, no, I think obviously Max is going into a team who are challenging to win the Premier League and challenging to win Champions League. So I think that the step up for him is clearly with better players than what we had when I come in. So yeah, it's and sometimes you find it's actually easier playing first team football, or playing, because you're going up, you're playing with better players. You'll see you run, or when you cut inside like he does on his left foot, they'll make him run, which you might maybe get at your team level. So sometimes it can actually be easier to go up and to make that step up and play with better players. So and he certainly made it look that way as well yesterday.
What's the one piece of advice you'd have for him? Enjoy
it. I think what's coming to him now over the next 20 years, 25 years, I'm sure we're going to see so much of him, and so much of his talent and goals and assists, whatever. And Alan Stubbs always said to me years ago, make sure you enjoy it, because it goes very quickly. And when you're young, you don't think that, but you sometimes forget that. But no, enjoy it and make the most of it.
You've mentioned Stubbs there a few times, and a couple of players. Who in particular at that period in your career really helped you put their arms around you? I know your family will have, but like in that Everton dressing room, because I imagine at the moment, you can imagine the likes of Declan Rice, Odegaard, the senior players at Arsenal looking after Max Dowman. I was just wondering who did the same for you.
Yeah, it was probably Stubbsy and Duncan, who the two who helped me settle in, and obviously I couldn't drive as well, so they normally give me a lift home.
Who gave you a lift?
It was Duncan and Stubbsy, depending on which one either of them would give me a lift home. So yeah, that was strange, just travelling through Croxteth where I'm from, and everyone Croxteth loves Duncan Ferguson, and there he is pulling in to give me a lift home. Yeah, so that was strange.
The other thing I kept thinking about last night was I thought about it a lot after he came on and played so well, because I haven't seen loads of him, because I think only the Arsenal fans have really seen him during pre-season. I kept thinking, I wonder what he's doing tonight. Like, when you've just made your debut for Arsenal, like the club that's the thing that you've always dreamt of. Can you remember what you did, like after your debut, after such a big moment?
No, but normally I'd go back and we'd just be on the street and get the ball out, and I'm just with my mates and having a kick about, yeah. And so that was what I'd normally do. So.
No way were you scoring goals against Arsenal and like putting the ball in the back of the net against David Seaman and then just having a kick about in Liverpool?
Yeah, there used to be these garages, and you'd use one of the garages as the door, and you just mess around with your mates, and I'm sure he'd be doing something similar or whatever at that age. But yeah, you're just trying to be a kid, because sometimes that gets taken away from you.
But all the other kids must have been like, hold on, he was playing for Everton earlier, he was playing at Goodison Park, and now he's playing with us on the street. That's wild. They're
probably waiting for me to get home because they're a player down.
And they know you're probably half decent as well, so they want you on their team.
What do you do on the nights out when they have like team nights out to bond and whatever?
How do we always get back to this?
No, because I just like, you just don't go, or do they
can't
try
go,
and pick somewhere?
You're too young.
No,
right?
We went to Spain with Everton, then David Moyes made it clear that I can't go. I was 16 or maybe just 17. So I stayed in for a little bit. No, I think it depends on the character. I sneaked out, I shouldn't have, but yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, you'd stay in and enjoy your time at home in the hotel.
Okay, I think we'll swiftly move on from that, because I don't think we need to get into it too much. A reminder, this podcast comes out on a Monday, you're listening now, and also on a Friday. And I just wonder, Wayne, do you reckon by Friday there could have been a couple of managerial changes in the Premier League?
There could, yeah. You hope not. I think Potter, you wouldn't be surprised if something happens there. And with Nuno, if he doesn't deserve it, but there's clearly something not right between himself and the owner, and if that's the case, I think there's only going to be one winner. So you hope not, but you never know with football.
That's where we'll leave it, guys. Thanks as always for listening. As we said, we'll be back with you again on Friday. You can listen to the Wayne Rooney Show on BBC Sounds. You can also watch us on the iPlayer and across the BBC Sport channels, including YouTube. So we'll see you next time. Bye bye.